Although military veterans make up a small proportion of the total population of the United States, they occupy a significantly higher proportion of the jobs in the civilian government. One possible explanation for this disproportionate representation is that military service familiarizes people with certain organizational structures that are also reflected in the civilian government bureaucracy, and this familiarity thus helps attract them or makes them feel more comfortable or able to adapt to or learn from, something to that effect. So makes civilian government jobs especially appealing to military veterans. Yes, because it's a bureaucracy, right? So that looks like it's going to be the answer. Let's just check B, C, and D. Alters the typical relationship between military and subsequent career preferences? No. Encourages non-veterans applying for civilian government jobs to consider military instead? No, that's not it. D, increases the number of civilian government jobs that require some amount. No, it said that nothing about these jobs require military experience. It's just that because of the nature of the organization, it generally works out to be an attractive fit. Herbivorous sauropod dinosaurs could grow more than 100 feet long, weigh up to 80 tons. Cool. Big. Was that like a brontosaurus? Something like that? And some researchers have attributed the evolution of sauropods to such massive sizes to increase plant production, resulting from high levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide. Okay, yeah, so if there's higher carbon dioxide back then, you had more plants. Then you got these big brontosauruses eating all the plants, right? As I recall, they're herbivorous. And of course, these dinosaurs, the sauropods, are. Okay. However, now we're going to get a contrast. Something's not right about that. There is no evidence of significant spikes in carbon dioxide. So, okay, great theory, but no evidence supports that because there's no extra carbon dioxide that coincides with the relevant periods in sauropod evolution, such as when the first large sauropods appeared, when several lineages underwent further evolution towards gigantism, or when sauropods reached their maximum known size, suggesting that the theory is wrong, right? There's no actual evidence to show that connection, that the sauropods resulted from extra carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So, suggesting that fluctuations in atmospheric carbon dioxide affected different lineages differently? No, that's not it. It affects the whole connection of the theory. The evolution of larger body size in sauropods did not depend on increased atmospheric carbon dioxide. Yes, that's part of what it suggests, but it was not just the evolution, right? So note it said that the first large sauropods, when the first ones appeared, when they underwent further evolution toward being big, and then they reached their maximum size. So the evolution of larger body size might be more than that, actually. So I'm going to put a check on that. Let's check C and D. Possibly we could get a better answer. Atmospheric carbon dioxide was higher when the largest known sauropods lived than it was when the first sauropods appeared. No, that's mixing up facts. That's false facts. It just simply says there wasn't any spike of carbon dioxide when they first grew, when they got big, when they evolved. No. D, sauropods probably would not have evolved to such immense sizes if atmospheric carbon dioxide had been even slightly higher. Okay, no, we don't know that. What would have or could have happened is pretty much always a wrong answer for the exam. We just don't know. We can't speculate, and there's no evidence in the text. So like this, let's choose the actual correct evidence, and B is supported by the evidence. The evolution of the sauropod to large body sizes did not depend on carbon dioxide. Dutch painters in the 16th and 17th centuries often showed tables filled with large wheels of cheese or carved shards of butter. Okay? So they like to paint cheese, I take it. Some art historians, noting that dairy products were a major component of the Dutch diet, interpret these depictions as reflections of everyday eating habits. However, now we're going to get a different idea. A group of researchers recently reviewed hundreds of food-related paintings and found that lemons, which could only be acquired in the Netherlands at great cost, since they had to be imported from warmer climates, feature in Dutch paintings of the period more than 3 times as frequently as dairy products do, thereby casting doubt on the idea that the food in the art represents the diet. That would be my predicted answer. Thereby casting doubt on the idea that dairy products were a more significant component of the Dutch diet of the period than lemons were. No, I don't think anybody... Well, no, that's a false comparison. They said it was part of the diet, but they never said it was more of the diet than, say, lemons. So, B, food was a more popular subject among Dutch painters than it was among painters from other countries on the time. So thereby casting doubt on the idea that food was a popular... How do we know it was a popular subject versus others? I don't think that comparison is even made. Okay. Thereby casting doubt on the idea that depictions of food in Dutch paintings of the period should be taken as realistic representations of Dutch eating habits. Yeah, there's doubt that the depictions of the food represent Dutch eating habits. There's a lot of lemons, and I guess it was very expensive, so most people did not eat lemons, even though they appeared in a lot of art. Probably because the color, the bright yellow. Anyway, D, Dutch painters of the period may have depicted food for symbolic reasons rather than to show Dutch people typically ate. Well, okay, yeah, this part's okay. Rather than show what Dutch people typically ate, it didn't do that. But what it did do, why they put it in there, Dutch painters may have depicted food for symbolic reasons. Again, well, I was just joking. I thought they put the lemons in maybe because of the bright color. That could be just as much or as much of a reason as symbolic reasons. So where in the text does it give evidence for symbolic reasons? That's not right. D is not the answer. C is correct. Colonized by Spain in the 1600s, New Mexico is home to a dialect of Spanish that differs significantly from dialects spoken in Spain's other former colonies in the Americas. Most notably, the New Mexican dialect retains older features of the language that other dialects lost in later centuries. But, okay, different direction. Why would it have done so? Good question. Why would it have done so? So why did New Mexico retain certain dialects and everywhere else lost it? New Mexico was so distant from population centers in Spain's other colonies that it attracted few colonists after its initial colonization. Geographic isolation, in turn, would have limited the exposure of New Mexican colonists to changes occurring to Spanish grammar and vocabulary elsewhere in the empire. Thus, the present-day uniqueness of the New Mexico dialect suggests the extent to which a language can, well, my prediction would be, vary based on geography or isolation. In this case, the geography isolated New Mexico. And that caused a very different dialect to, in this case, basically stay the same, not develop or change over time as the others did. So the present-day uniqueness of the New Mexican dialect suggests the extent to which the language can protect itself from being influenced by other languages. I don't think that's quite right, but let's put a question mark. We won't cross that out yet, because kind of right. The grammar and vocabulary of any given language change from one generation. No, we're not talking one generation to the next. That's definitely wrong. The present-day uniqueness of the New Mexico dialect suggests the extent to which geographical isolation, okay, this is the right topic, can influence how a language develops. Absolutely. That's exactly what this example in New Mexico demonstrates. C is the right answer, not A. And probably not D, but let's check it. Speakers of one dialect of a language can understand speakers of another. Oh, okay, that might be true, but not our answer. When the Vinland map, a map of the world purported to date to the mid-1400s, surfaced in 1957, some scholars believed it demonstrated that European knowledge of the east coast of present-day North America predated Christopher Columbus's 1492 arrival. So in the mid-1400s, I guess they had a map that had North America on it, at least the eastern portion of it. In 2021, a team including conservators such and such and material science such and such performed an extensive analysis of the map and the ink used. They found that the ink contains titanium dioxide, a compound that was first introduced in ink manufacturing in the early 1900s. Therefore, the team concluded that the map was false. Or at least it was written on after its original dating. Somebody put the east coast of the Americas in there afterward. So, conclude that mid-1400s Europeans could not have known about the no, that's not it. The Vinland map could not have been drawn by mid-1400s map makers. That's correct, right? If it was using ink from the 1900s, it could not have been drawn from the 1400s. But let's be careful. It could be the originally, I'm going to put a question mark on this, actually, because it could have been drawn in the 1400s, but somebody added some extra ink afterward. But note, it didn't say parts of the ink or the ink that was depicting the Americas. It just says the ink in the whole thing. So let's check C and D. Map makers must have used titanium compounds in their ink in the 1400s. No, that's completely false and illogical. There isn't enough information to determine when the ink was. No, there was, and they figured it out, and it was the 1900s, so the map could not have been created in the 1400s. B is the right answer.